I wanted to share some vulnerability. Like our team's currently working on an under contract, like post-closing process, because that's somewhere that we've been lacking over the last couple years. And it's one of those things that like I'm right here at it. We had a two sides go under contract last night. And I'm sitting here and I'm like thinking, I'm like, oh, but I need the whole process. Like I need everything written out. I need to know how it's going out. And I was like, nope, just do the things. Just do the things today. Don't worry about it. The systems and processes are all built. I'm going to give you a lot of systems and processes today because that's how my brain works and that's how this system works efficiently. But my encouragement to you is if you get overwhelmed by the systems and processes, it's very important that you just execute at the like the slowest level possible, whether that's just getting cards out, just doing calls. And that's why that report card, I hope, will encourage you to do that. For some reason, our own commissions don't seem to motivate us as agents sometimes, but for some reason, filling some form out somewhere will do it. It's the strangest thing. Okay, so quickly, last week we covered a couple of things. We covered understanding our SOI. So we did like a broad overview of our SOI. I'm going to go ahead and do not disturb my computer. And we talked about the benefits of working through an SOI. And then we initially started talking about how to identify your SOI, that people get this really wrong. I think, Lori, we were on a call yesterday and we were talking about segmenting your database to really know who your SOI is versus this giant lead pool that you guys often have, especially those of you who are on teams that are having a lot of leads put into your database for you. When reflecting kind of on what we talked about last week, and shifting viewpoints, particularly I think on benefits of working through the SOI and identifying the SOI, I'd love to go around and just kind of ask, like, is there any shift that kind of happened to you guys in your business the last week as a result of our getting together last week? I'd just be curious, are you thinking about your SOI differently? Are you starting to identify your SOI differently? Has there been any movement in just mindsets of who these people are and the way that they can service your business that anyone's willing to kind of pop in and share? This is a big aha for me when I realized that my sphere was not a bunch of leads, when I realized that in fact my sphere was a lead generation tool, right? That I was basically creating a database of 300 ISAs that were going to go out and recruit buyers and sellers for me. That was a big aha moment and a big shift in my business. So I'd be curious to hear in your kind of own words, like what ahas did you have from just kind of starting to have conversations about SOI on a higher level?
Mine might be more of a question. So I went into my CRM and I went through every single contact lead and I had some categorized as clients. And I was like, well, do I convert them to make them an SOI versus a client? Like I had trouble thinking how I should be categorizing, because now my past clients have turned into SOI. So I think I need to convert them to that.
We're going to talk about that today because one of our topics is segmenting your database. So it's a really good question for today. I tend to leave, just so you have the answer straightforward, like a good tenacity answer, not an ideation answer for me. I like to leave all of my past clients as closed, but I do know that because I like to know who's transacted with us in the past always. Some of that messaging can look different over the years. Like if I'm inviting people to a past client event, I want to know that segment. There's two ways you can do it. You can either convert them once they're closed into SOI and put some kind of tag on there saying closed client. What we do is we leave them as closed client, but when we're running our Sphere database, we know we have to also run the closed client database, and we combine that together to create those mailing lists, to create invite lists, and to make sure that we know what that number is, if that makes sense. So like I know, for instance, my SOI numbers in my database right now are like 350 some, and I have about 300 past clients, right? So I know, Allison, I know you entered your data set, it was like 800, and I'm sure that's comparable for you. You're probably looking at, 400 past clients, 400 sphere of influence. And so, yes, they become one body. It's just sometimes nice to know what's the difference between the two, especially if you're going to do client events, which we're also going to talk about today. Cool. Anything else? Any like monumental mind shift changes anyone's just itching or burning to share? Can I galvanize someone into giving me one? No.
Okay. Actually, I'll share.
Oh, okay.
And this is just after listening to you last week, I was very aware, and I'm not actually actively selling, you know that, but, it's really cool to just like pay attention a little bit more to your surroundings. I met two people that I've been working out with in the gym for 6 months, and I just today and last Thursday realized they were real estate agents and not with EXP. And so I was like, oh, and it was just like a fun, I instantly was like, hey, how are you? I see your shirt. Is that yours? Like just these little things that I'm in those spaces all the time, just trying to actually like be present and be aware of the surroundings so I can have those like open conversations of, hey, Anna Powell's your girl. I didn't break out in my EXP song I made up, but I just stuck with, that's great. Like I'm just learning a lot more from Anna, and like I see her with Caldwell Banker. It was just a cool, I don't know, it was a fun time.
I love that.
Yeah.
Tasha just shared that at the beginning of the year, she quit doing things that she used to do, and going out in public around people, driving a vehicle with your name, and realizing, yeah, I mean, I think that's big, Tasha, like recognizing like that those are things that when you just stop doing the stuff, recognizing that it kills your business, I think is huge. So I think that's really important. Okay, cool. So let's talk about what we're going to focus on today. Number one, we're going to talk about managing your database. And making additions to your database. We're going to talk then about what everyone was asking about last week. So I think this is going to be huge, is starting your communication framework and frequency. So I'm going to pull my whiteboard up here and show you what we call the communication bullseye looks like, so you guys can have a strategy. And then also creating a holiday event. I believe transparently, the course fits into this time of year best, because again, I said it last week, if you can't start connecting into your database right now, when you've got the holidays as a nice, beautiful little buffer to make those connections, I don't know what else, I really don't know what else time of season you're going to get this going. There's no time like right now to get into some of this work. So let's jump in. And if you've got the workbook link and you're following along, we're going to start looking at this. First off, like importance of these well-managed databases. Again, I'm a big person in believing and understanding the why behind things. I think it's really important to understand why are you doing something. When you understand the why, I think you're 100 times more likely to actually do the work. So we're going to jump in there and start looking at really the importance of your database and what it does for you. So number one, your database is absolutely going to help you build relationships, right? All of us know real estate 100% thrives on relationships, and a well-organized database actually helps you maintain regular contact with your SOI. How many of you, I think we talked about this last week, Jen Severa, like you, in your mind, it wasn't that long ago that you talked to someone, and then in reality, you realized like, oopsie, it's been like a really hot minute. How many raise of hands or put in the chat? How many of you experienced that where in your mind, you just talked to this person, and then bless your hearts, you see their house go up for sale with another agent, and you're kind of like, well, dag nabbit, I just talked to that person. But if you really went back to the data and looked at it, maybe you didn't talk to them for 2 years. It happens all the time. I have an agent on my team, Gwendy, she's not on this call. She's been in coaching the last couple of weeks trying to fix this. Like she has in her mind this kind of overgeneralization of I've touched my database, I've done the things. And then in reality, she hadn't, and she was losing business as a result of it. So we were having to work on that. One thing, again, we talked about looking at your sphere of influence in this regard. It is a referral opportunity, right? Happy clients, happy people in your world are going to often refer friends and family. Now, there's a caveat to this. They will not refer you if the experience is not perfect, or not perfect, but not, like if they have a subpar experience with you, they will not refer you. They will probably use you. And I like to make sure that agents understand this. Someone in your database will use you, but they will not refer you if they do not feel like the experience was well enough executed to actually refer you out to someone, because they don't want to be the reason that someone was unhappy. So just keep that in mind. If you find that your database is using you a lot, but you're not getting, this is really key, you're not getting referrals out of them, it's not a marketing to your database problem. It is an essential, like going through the process of selling real estate problem. Your communication wasn't where it should be. The process wasn't good enough for, like, whatever it was, that's why they're not referring. So again, that's one of those things. If you take nothing away from today, take that. If your database uses you, but they do not refer you, it's a you problem. It's a you in the real estate transaction problem. I know because I went through this. I kept thinking I'm doing all the things and no one's referring me. This is when I was an individual agent doing 40 deals a year, and I was dropping the ball left and right because I was too dumb to know how to grow my business. And I went through a phase where there was no referrals coming in. And I know that's fundamentally to be true. The other thing that's really important about a well-managed database, again, has to do with these timely outreaches. If you don't have birthdays, anniversaries, kids' birthdays, if you don't have those reminders right there in your CRM, which we're going to talk about CRM in a bit, like, you fundamentally cannot timely reach out to them, because by the time that you see it passed on social media, you're not going to go send a birthday card in the mail. You know why? Because, as Allison likes to call it, the drunk monkey on your shoulder is going to say, well, their birthday's already passed, so I shouldn't send a card now because the birthday was today and it won't get to them till the end of the week, right? And then we won't do the work. We're finding what I like to call creative avoidance in our lives, reasons to not go do the work there. Let's see. Are there people in the waiting room? Okay. Anyways, so sorry, I just saw someone pop up in a waiting room. I just want to be sure I wasn't screwing something up. Oh, okay. Okay, perfect. The other thing that the database can really do for you is help you keep track of client preferences. This is something I'll put a link to it so you guys can see it. Haley, remind me, when we have a closed client, and Sue, this kind of goes back to your question, I think. When we have a closed client, we send out a survey at the end of their process to find out, number one, how likely they would be to refer us on a scale of 1 to 10. That's one of our weekly measurables that we want to know. It's a good place for them to put our review in so that we can go put it other places if for some reason they don't get it to the third-party sites for us. It also asks, specific questions about how was communication, what are things that you like. We have this survey, but the most, I think and Rob's on this call and he helped us develop it. One of the best things that we get from it is we truly just ask clients, like, what are things that you like? When's your birthday? Like, what's your favorite season? Like, we give them a place to put in all kinds of information for us that we can then go put into our CRM. For instance, if we know we have state fans and like their state tickets floating around, like, we know that's a good thing to pair. If you don't know that information, you can't do some of these really personalized things. And when we start talking about our communications bullseye and our A+, when we start getting into that realm, you need to know preferences to truly be able to serve these people, because dropping them off a generic Popeye is not going to get the work done. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So keeping track of client preferences is one of those really great things that your database can actually give you. There are a lot of benefits to a CRM system. So I looked at the responses. I know we've got a bunch of you, especially Greco Group people. You guys are on Boomtown. My team, you guys are all Follow Up Boss users. I don't know that I saw much else. I know some people have some spreadsheets out there. I'm going to give you a hot take. If you are an individual agent and you want to do SOI at a really high level and you're currently in a spreadsheet, the best upgrade you can give yourself is Brian Buffini's Referral Maker CRM. If you want to do this at a high level, if this is what you say, 85% of my business is made up by my SOI or my referral stream, there is no better CRM to do this work in than Brian Buffini's CRM. I ran my whole business in it until I had a team, and it no longer worked for us. We had to move into Follow Up Boss. Follow Up Boss is amazing. I think it's the greatest thing on, since sliced bread. However, when it comes to being an individual agent, even an agent that's on a team, if you want to do SOI work at a really high level, this is not a bad thing to pick up as a supplemental item. I think it's like $49 or $50 a month. But it actually it's triggered to track all of your activities that are building your SOI. It has a calculator in there. It'll show you how many of these activities you need to do in order to make the money that you want to make. So I think that's huge. Did you just convert, Sue? I see your message. Yeah. So anyways, I think, going into a CRM is absolutely crucial because it's going to be a place to centralize everything. One of the things that we don't think about sometimes with our SOI is like, there's still good candidates for automated follow-up. This is not the thing that you can do by itself. You can't just automatically follow up with your sphere of influence, but a CRM will give you some of that ability. Lead management is huge. Eventually, some of these SOIs are going to turn into leads. It's inevitable. There's no way you have a data set of 200 people and no one's going to transact with you. That's unreasonable, right? And so when they do, being able to keep them in a system that allows you to manage their transaction is huge. It helps with task management. How many of you wake up every morning and think, what should I do today with my data set? It's a huge struggle for agents. In most CRMs, you're able to actually put tasks into place so that you can turn into autopilot. Yeah, so Tasha, you could literally set up a campaign, and this is where the automations of CRM become really powerful, so that you could log in every morning, click on tasks, and right there, boom, 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 without thinking, the names of those people that you need to contact, the content of what you need to share with them will all be right there, that you could just move the needle, right? So the task management component of a CRM is huge. We're going to talk about the segmentation of your data set. I promise you, if you have your whole database, your sphere of influence database in a spreadsheet, you will miss the mark on segmentation, because there's just, I mean, unless you are a spreadsheet genius, I don't know how you do this efficiently in a spreadsheet. Obviously, there's all kinds of integration capabilities that come with CRMs. It's one of my superpowers, is getting things to talk to one another to give us more time back. You need somewhere that literally can track where your referrals are coming from. When you have a database that you are allowed to, can you manage this? Because I just see people trying to get into this Zoom and I'm not there. When you have people that are trying to entering their database because of someone else in your database that referred them, you should have a place that says where this referral came from. You should be able to run a report every single year to say, who were my top refers? Again, you think on February 14th, when that referral came in from Bobby Jean down the road, you will never forget that Bobby Jean sent you that referral, but 3 other things pop up, your kid gets sick, and all of a sudden it's March, and you forgot that Bobby Jean gave you that referral. And by the end of the year, you know, maybe that's happened 2 or 3 times and you realize you've never done anything for Bobby Jean. It is our brains, right? It's not because you're a bad person and you don't appreciate the work. It's just how it works for us. So it's a huge thing to be able to track client history. Again, Sue, like, I'm getting into that place where, yeah, like, were they a past client or not, right? When you start doing so many transactions, and I'll tell you, Dan Beer used to stand on stages and he would say, those of you that have a past client group of, you know, like 40 or 50 people, you don't realize what a blessing you have. I have thousands. And I was like, yeah, give me the thousands, Dan. Like, BS. I call BS. Like, I want the 1,000 past clients. I don't want the 40 past clients. But I will tell you that when you get to a place where you have thousands of past clients, even hundreds of past clients, being able to manage those people and actually get the referrals going from them can be very difficult, because you just don't have the time and energy to keep up with those relationships the same way. That was a really terrifying shift for me when I went from being the individual agent who had all of her clients, that was able to have repeat clients, get referrals off them, because I knew what to go do, especially when we talk about this communication bullseye, to now having data sets of 400, 500. Now we have 11,000, not past clients, but 11,000 people in our database. It did become kind of scary because my security blanket went away. What I knew worked, I couldn't do anymore to the level it was. So for those of you that are on this call that just have a couple past clients, I can't believe I'm saying this, because I used to call BS when Dan would say it, but I think you're very blessed to have a group that you can truly nurture and care for on a level that doesn't require a ton of systems and processes in order to get this done. So I would absolutely encourage you, if you have a small past client base, build the habits now and start working those processes now, because you have a lot of past clients. It's going to become very daunting to track this client history, right? And then finally, I think another benefit to the CRM system is accessibility. Most CRMs are going to have a mobile app. I would encourage you to use that mobile app to make your calls, to send your text messages, to log your activities, because you want a holistic picture of all the things that you did. If I know that there's someone in my sphere of influence that I've made constant contact with, that I've done all the things that I'm supposed to do, and they go and they list or they buy with someone else, I can tell you my heartache grows very small when I go look in that database and see, no, this was not because I was not top of mind. This was because they made a choice to go somewhere else, right? And it helps that heartache a little bit. You can move on from it a little quicker, I think, when you know it wasn't something that I did. I was there throughout the process. I didn't drop the ball. That's a lot of an easier pill to swallow. again, my take on this is for a team, I think a Follow Up Boss, a Boomtown, something like that is huge. But I think for agents that want to do this at a high level, again, if you jot it down, Buffini Referral Maker, CRM, you could probably get a free trial for a month. Wouldn't be a bad thing to tap into if you're still in a spreadsheet, which I know a couple of you are from our answers and our feedback.
Because I just thought about it.
Hmm.
The data set numbers. Remember we looked at like who was in there?
Yes. Yes.
Touch on that before you move too far.
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to make sure I differentiate, because you may want to make a shift in your numbers as you look at this. One thing I want you to think about, I saw some people with data sets of like 1,000 people plus. If you have 1,000 sphere of influence people plus, I think that's amazing. One thing that you need to be sure of is that you didn't group all your leads together with this sphere of influence database. And if you did, or you're just kind of saying, oh, I have 1,000 people in my sphere of influence, the numbers should really reflect how many though are in this database with up-to-date good contact information. So if you need to make any adjustments on that, let us know. But just, we are really focused on not your lead count, not how many people you have in your database. We're talking about the people that you consider your sphere of influence. This is going to become a little bit clear as we start talking about segmenting this group and actually ranking them. I think you'll kind of understand where do people fall as we get through the rest of today. What questions do we have thus far, CRM related? Because I know that's always, agents love to talk about this. Again, I think sometimes it's just creative avoidance. It's just something that we spend our wheels on, thinking that if we get this perfect system, we'll have all of our boxes checked. The CRM system really is secondary to actually doing the work. This is something that'll only going to make you better if you're committed to actually doing the work. But what CRM questions does anyone have, if any, that I could answer while we're here? Can I talk about KV Core? Yeah. I can't talk a ton about KV Core. I didn't spend a ton of time on it. I do have access to it. When we moved to EXP, that is a platform that EXP gives their agents. Some people use it at a very, very high level. When I came into the KV Core world, it wasn't equipped very well to manage teams, and it got more expensive if you wanted to put a team platform on it. So we kind of moved away from KV Core pretty quickly. It's a very powerful integration. I think it's kind of clunky technology, so I think you have to be kind of tech savvy to get it and navigate it at its highest form. I will tell you that's why our team moved to Follow Up Boss. I also have the benefit of having advisors in my business that are on the West Coast that do this at a very high level, that manage teams that do billions of dollars in real estate a year. And they all said Follow Up Boss. And I am the type, when someone tells me to go do something, I just do it. I don't sit and ponder it very much. It's probably my working genius profile. I kind of just say, that sounds good. If you can sell $1 billion real estate on that platform, I can sell 60 million, right? So KV Core has some incredible power to it. It's just not something I've used. Christine asks, as a newer agent, do you take all of your phone contacts and put them into your CRM as an SOI? It's a really great place to start. Jen Bear's on this call. She can give you some what not to do on that process. She did that, and then unfortunately mislabeled them, and they all went on to a subscriber drip campaign. So I will give you some warning that just be ready to manage it once they come in. I think your phone is a great place to start though, because you probably at least have phone numbers, right? They're usually not contacts in your phone. I've seen it done poorly. We've had agents in our group that's been their starting point. They'll just import their phone. And again, we got contacts that are like Bob's Bro and the dog house and kind of crazy things. So I think you've got to be very intentional while you do that import, but it can be a really good starting point. Any other CRM questions? All right, cool. All right, so we're going to jump into segmenting our SOI now. So when I talk about having a data set of 40 people, this won't feel that big to you, because you can run through a list of 40 people in 5 seconds and say, yep, that's a person who is probably a luxury buyer or seller based on the current value of their home. That's someone who is in this age demographic. That's someone who lives in town. That's someone who lives in another town. If you have 40, and this is the catch of real estate, I think, is when you're starting out and you have these small data sets, the things that work for you then will not work for you later. So what I'm trying to set you up for is a plan and system that you can grow with forever and ever. Amen. So when you have 800, 1,000 people in your data set, it still works for you at a high level. So here's what I think is really important. You've got to segment your SOI from the beginning. The reason you want to do that is it helps you, number one, predict future needs. So if you can segment them, you can absolutely help predict the future needs that they'll have. You can prioritize your resources, right? God knows you don't want to drive 45 minutes to go drop a $5 or $50 pop buy off to someone that you have no clue if they're going to refer you or not. Would it not feel better to go drop that off at someone that you know is going to refer you, right? Again, this goes back to numbers games. Right now, maybe it doesn't matter because you have 3 or 4 people that you would do that for. But when you've got 800 and you've got to figure out where's my 3 or 4 that I know are going to go after this and help me build my business, right? Where are my growth partners in my segment? You've got to know where to prioritize your resources. Another thing, and we talk about this a lot, marketing is not one size fits all. So you can't drop a news flow every month and be like, this is going to hit everyone, right? Your job is not to be Walmart. But again, you have a sphere of influence that you have trust and likeness already over. And so what I think is important here is you can help, if you understand these segments, you can actually create tailored marketing for these groups. Let me give you an example. Because I segmented my data set, when I first got into real estate, I sold a ton of homes in Raleigh. I don't know why. I mean, I was in a Raleigh office, but I had friends from college that were coming into the area. I had all these people that needed homes in Raleigh. So I ended up selling a lot of homes in Raleigh. As my business got bigger and as I got smarter and as I got better at marketing, I was able to make my hometown my little niche, right? I spend most of my time selling in Southern Wake County, Northern Harnett County. So what happened is I still have, though, this big data set in Raleigh. I still have a lot of past clients in Raleigh. And for those of you that are very community oriented, I was sending out a lot of marketing about Fuquay events. Well, you know what happened? I started getting some unsubscribes. You know why? Because people in Raleigh didn't care about the Fuquay community event. So I had to learn that if I was going to do things that were heavily Fuquay, then I really was better off to segment that to the population that was close by. It also motivated me to make sure that I kept up with some more things in Raleigh and I provided some volume there. Or value there. So if you don't have segments, though, that's a place where you can really go wrong, is you're going to look like a Walmart and you're not going to do it on purpose. But wouldn't it be so much more powerful to know, hey, when I'm doing my marketing calendar for this month and I'm figuring out what people need, I've got these 6 buckets and I need to make sure that my marketing actually hits these 6 instead of trying to be Walmart and compete. You can actually go in and you can do some niche, really, really tailored marketing for your segment groups, but you can't do that if your database is not segmented. And finally, I think you really do increase client lifetime value when you use these segments. As people move through segments, you're able to still service them. So for instance, if those of you that have been in business for a long time, you may have clients that bought as first-time home buyers that are now like in move down homes, right? Like going into retirement phase of their life. If you treated them the same way through that entire life cycle, your messaging might not reach them as well. Now you're giving them the ability, right, to recognize that you can actually service through that lifetime and giving them marketing and information that's actually pertinent to where they are. And I think you can have some more longevity. All right, before we go into like, what are these types of segments? Because I know that's gonna be the next question. Does anyone do this already, or talk to me a little bit about what or Allison, you just jump in. Tell me a little bit about how you segment these. Like, what does this look like for your team and your organization?
I think for us, like I can talk for me specifically right now where I am in my business, because other people might be there as well. So, and I'll kind of go back to what this looked like being when I first got into real estate as a solo agent. But like right now, what I'm doing is, as we're growing our team, I have different pillars of clients, right? Like one of my clients is our team members, the Greco group. One of our clients are the people that we're trying to help grow their business and talk to about lever and how we're going to coach and all the benefits we're giving them, right? And then another group of people is our entire CRM for the Greco group. So it's like you were saying, I can't blast out what our training schedule is for Lever and EXP and everything that we're doing to our CRM, because like you said, you'd get a ton of unsubscribes. It's kind of the same concept of social media, right? If you start to like give a messaging out there that is not true to the identity of what your client is looking for, then you'll start to see your follow count go down a lot. And so you have to make sure you actually introduced me to Flowdesk, which was a really great resource for me, that I can segment my people and figure out what is the message that I'm sending to these people. And a little bit more granular level from selling real estate here. Like, I've had clients call me before when I was selling real estate, and I would do like an email blast to everybody, and it was for like $150,000 fixer upper. And I was so excited about it. A lot of my clients would think it was great. But then I had a client call me one time and said, you sent me these fixer uppers like 3 days in a row, and I'm $1 million client looking for something on the water. I just don't think you get me. And he felt that I was, because they think we're sending it to them, like we're thinking about Joe Schmo, right? And we were just email blasting, trying to get content out there. And I think that it's about understanding like who the client is and what content they're looking for, because they will start to believe that you maybe don't understand them or you weren't listening if you aren't being specific in your messaging to that person.
Yeah, I completely agree. Because you don't want, once you have that email, and John Shiplak is a genius. We're going through some of his training now to make sure that our emails are as powerful as they could be. I think it's getting to a place where emails gotten really watered down. How many of you now, I mean, we never got these during COVID because homes were selling. How many of you now are like, somehow you got on some realtor's list. Now you're getting their price reductions from 2 cities away. You could care less. The problem is, especially in our industry, emails up. And one of the things that you don't realize sometimes, and I didn't understand this, is that email is also, as far as email marketing. Now, not my email. If I'm going to email Christine and say, Christine, I'd really like to put an offer in on your property, right? With just plain text, that email is not going to get filtered. But email servers have capacities, and there's a reason that spam filters exist. There's a reason that emails get blocked. And so some of that like massive blasting, if you're not getting opens, right? This is another reason to segment. If you're not getting opens because the material is not pertinent to the person that's receiving it, just like your SEO goes down on Google, your SEO is going to go down in inboxes. You're going to start showing up in spam folders. You're going to start showing up places that, well, you're not going to be showing up. You're not going to be seen. And so it's very, very, very important to make sure that what you're sending, and again, we're going to give you a game plan for what this material should look like, but it's very important that what you're sending has the power to be opened, because if it doesn't apply to that person, I mean, that's actually good for Allison that he actually even replied and said something. But for most people, what they'll do is they'll just say, oh, unsubscribe. Well, you spent all that money if it's a lead, and if it's a sphere, you made the uncomfortable ask, right? A lot of times, hey, could I have your email? I'm sending out a really high value newsletter once a month. Like we try to keep our people engaged with what's going on in the market. I promise I won't spam you, but I'd love to have your email so we can stay in contact. Think how much work you went in to get that email just for them to hit unsubscribe because you sent them marketing that didn't resonate with them and you didn't provide them enough value. One of our automations in our CRM, when I see someone unsubscribe, automatically a text message goes out if they unsubscribe via email, and this is for leads primarily, but we'll say, hey, I just wanted to personally reach out and say, I'm sorry, because an unsubscribe tells me that our item of value was not valuable to you. Could you share with us what we could have done differently to keep you in our world longer? I love to send that out because I want to know, why are you unsubscribing? So don't let your sphere unsubscribe because you haven't segmented them correctly. So here's some of the buckets, and you can add, I'd love to hear, because you guys may come up with some stuff that I don't even think about. I did ask ChatGPT to help me with this a little bit today because my segments probably could use a little expansion as well. So we talked about this, the past client segment. It's important to know who has bought and sold with you in the past because they have testimonials, they have experience, they're part of your business family. So I think segmenting that past client group is huge. Another thing is local businesses and partners. So if you have people in your data set that are also small business owners, having some kind of tag for them to know that they are could be huge. Here's why. Let's say you're scrolling through your chamber email and you see there's going to be some really great event for chamber members somewhere. That's a great community event that you could send out, but that's probably not going to resonate with corporate America Joe Schmo, who doesn't involve with the chamber. It could be huge for your vendor partners though, right? People that you use for inspections, for all of your contracting needs, things like that. That could be a really cool thing that you want to send that group, but you would never send it to your entire SOI group, right? You could see, I know we're trying to get a young professionals group in our chamber like going. And so one thing that'll be really cool is I can go through my data set and I'll be able to filter by these local, I call them B2B contacts, right? B2B, business to business. I call them B2B contacts. And I can also filter by some of this age stuff. And I know that I'll be able to pull out that group from my database very easily because they're already segmented. So I think the local business and partners is huge. We all have vendors that we're referring on a regular basis in our world. If they're not in your database, you're missing a really good referring partner. This we already talked about, but geographic segmentation. How many of you have people that absolutely know, like, and trust you, but they don't live in your market? Raise your hand. How many of you feel like you don't know what to do with them when it comes to your database? Raise your hand. Yeah. How many of you can take a referral fee if you refer someone to another agent in any state across America? Raise your hand. Great. Especially high price point areas, right? I have a ton of friends in DC. I love it. I have one person that I go to and I'm like, I have another sorority sister who would like to buy a house. Please send me my 25%. Thank you. One thing that you don't realize is that like there is 100% an opportunity for referral partnerships. But again, you can't send those fools your chamber message, right? They don't want to know what's going on in your chamber, right? But if you know, and you create this segment and you could call them like out of state referral partners, that messaging should look different. You should send them something 2 or 3 times a year saying, hey, I just want to remind you, like, if you need someone in your area that can serve you to the same caliber that our team can, I can help you find that person. And again, I would never want that messaging to go out to my entire sphere on a regular basis, but I do want to segment that group. A lot of people struggle with this. They think, oh, I shouldn't put them in my database. They don't live close. Absolutely not true. Another thing you could do if you really want to prioritize this, you can go to like, there's websites that will track where money moves across the state. So you could actually identify and say, do I have people that are in markets that are transferring to my market like relatively frequently? And you could even rank them a little bit higher within those referral partners. You can literally create an entire sphere that's not near you that could do a ton of referral work for you. And there's agents that work like this all over. It's a pretty enjoyable way to do business. You don't have to deal with the transaction. You just get, it's like you could become Zillow. You could just be Zillow, right? I always like to make my Zillow jabs. I know there's a lot of Zillowers on here. Love you all. Okay. Another thing that's important, investment driven clients. How many of you have ever been in the grocery store? I don't know why this always seems to be the conversation. And I don't know why I'm never in the grocery store. I Instacart everything. But you're in the grocery store and someone tells you, again, a lot of you have people in data sets that aren't making moves themselves, right? One thing that's important, I get this all the time. Hey, we're not moving anytime soon, but we have been toying with the idea of picking up an investment property, right? I hear that all the time. What if you had a tag within your database that when you got done with that conversation, you could add them to that investment driven tag? And then you, again, just like Allison said, she missed it with this guy because it wasn't what he was looking for, but to be able to have rehab off-market properties that you might send to this group, as far as personal residences, they're probably not in a phase of life where they're changing that anytime soon. We get that, right? Once we get them into that house where they're going to raise children and they're going to stay and they're going to be comfortable, that can be a hard group to actually get to transact. Being able to give them investment driven advice and marketing could help you drum up, the third home purchase from that group. Life stage segments. Obviously in real estate, you got to be very careful of this. I'm not saying that you're going to sit here and target people based on who they are, what they have, but I do think it's important to understand that you have newlyweds group, you could have retiree groups, you could have new parent groups. And this is why managing your database is important, because you don't want to keep new parents in a group that stays there for 15 years. If 15 years later, they're not new parents. But being able to identify some of these groups is huge. Here's why. Let's say we want to do a client event. Let's say you want to create a vibe at this client event. I'm not inviting, well, I don't know, I might should, but if I think about doing something like at a bar, like at a brewery, I might want to target a specific group of my subsection to invite to that. I don't really want to send that to the women that I sing in church with on Sunday. I don't want to send that messaging, right? But I do want to send it to my really cool young newlyweds that are probably going to be first-time home buyers in the next 3 years, because I want them to think I'm a cool realtor, right? So that life stage segmentation is really important, but that's again why you have to manage the database, because you can't leave people improperly labeled for too long. Luxury market clients. You guys know these people. Allison just mentioned one. Making sure that you have this tagged so that you understand that this marketing has to look better. I have a very, very casual brand. A lot of the materials that we push out are casual. I look like this a lot of times when I go on video. I might exclude that luxury market client from some of my frequent touches, because they might be like, that girl's a slob and I don't want to work with her. And I don't want to diminish that opportunity because I'm being authentically me. So that's a very important subsection for our world, because I don't need to be my day-to-day brand sometimes in front of these people. And I don't want to limit that opportunity for my team to have higher price points. Vacation and second home buyers. This is another one of those things where I feel like people will mention this in the grocery store, at a ball game or whatever. They're like, oh, we've been thinking about buying something at the beach. Oh my gosh, tag them, put a tag on them right then and there. Say these, they're vacation or second home buyers. They're looking for something in the mountains. They're looking for something here. And then make sure that your messaging correlates. You could absolutely go pull a couple of cool properties off Zillow and put together some little thing that's like coolest beach houses on the market this week, right? And just showing them again that you have some correlation into that. It's not so much about maybe that they're going to go and buy and you get the referral off of that. It's just that you're meeting them where they are and showing them that you are very versatile. Maybe they don't buy the beach house, but maybe their best friend does, and then they give you a call, right? Anything else? Let's talk segments. Anything else that people have segment wise that they found to be really useful?
I would say, like, for us in our boom towns, it's really important that you update it when like they're just sold and you're utilizing your CRM at a high level for like under contract. And then you can also do tags like through Boomtown that are so specific. So like if you met somebody at an open house, right? Like you said, tag them open house and exactly the open house that they were at, or tag them the neighborhood that they're highly interested in, so that you are just setting yourself up for success when that house comes through in Battery Point or whatever the neighborhood is. All you have to do is search that tag so that you're pushing them content that makes them feel like you specifically remembered them. You met them at this open house and you now see this house coming on the market, or it's a off-market listing. You can really set yourself up for success if you just use the support of your CRM in the back end, so that when the things come, you don't have to rack your brain and think, God, what do I do today? It's all right there for you. So getting really granular on exactly what those tags are and how you're segmenting people can really put you ahead.
Yeah. I think too, those of you that have smaller data sets, what you'll do is right now you'll say, oh, but I only have 40 people in my database. So like I don't need 10 or 12 or 14 of these segments, because I could only put 4 people per segment. My second big nugget here is my big nugget. That's funny. Sorry. That for me would be set up the segments now, because unless you are a realtor who tells me that you only want to have 40 people in your data set for the rest of your career, which is fine. You're welcome to sit on this call. I don't really have a lot of interest in what you're doing. I think growth is so important. But unless you are dead set on like, this is it, I'm just keeping these 40 people forever and ever, and that's it. Like the segments must come now. And as someone that grew their business really, really fast, as a COVID baby, as a team builder during COVID, where I had this beautiful tailwind that just pushed the ship along and like I couldn't screw anything up. I'm very transparent about this. I built the team in the greatest market in the world, probably. Like it was so easy. If I made a mistake, the market would fix it. If we spent too much, we'd sell more houses. Like I was very error proof as far as consequences go. I made plenty of errors in building, but the one consequence that came from this really quick growth, which I know sounds very attractive to most people, is some of these foundations didn't get continued. I didn't spend the time on some of these foundations that I should have. And the group that is suffering the most is not our new internet leads. They've got really shiny, new, cool toys. The people that are struggling and are really the losers of this scenario was my sphere of influence where I built my business. Half the reason I'm doing this course is that I can't sit up here and be a hypocrite to you and tell you to go work your sphere when I think that mine was the loser of my quick growth, right? And I don't want that for you. I want you to be able to keep this group happy and keep them working for you. So you don't have to go chase John at mickeymouse.com from realtor.com because he's not real. Okay. The most important segmenting that we're going to do, and this is where we're going to spend most of the rest of our time today. We're going to talk a little bit about client events because we're right here at the holidays. And I think most of you have about a week or two to launch something. And I want you to do that if you haven't already for Thanksgiving, whether it be a pie giveaway or some kind of fall thing. So we're going to spend some time on segmenting by rankings. How many of you know those 2 or 3 people, maybe it's more, that you just know love you, love your business, are cheerleading for your business, and are referring you to anyone and everyone that they meet? How many of you have 2 or 3 of those people? Raise your hand. Good. How many of you have 1? Who has 1 of those people? Okay, good. Oh, Allison, you have 1. That's so great. I'm proud of you. I am 1 for you. So if
I
you
was
have,
about to say it's you. It's Anna. She's my cheerleader.
everyone has 1. So that's the most important thing. There's a girl in our market that does this at a really high level. Ginger Peters does a great job. She straight up calls them her raving fans. So this is going to be our A+ client. And I'm going to go ahead and pull my whiteboard up so you guys can start looking at this bullseye. I did already build it because I don't know who I am, but I had a lot of tenacity this morning, I think. Can everybody, ooh, whoop, whoop. Can everybody see that? Yes, thank you. Okay, so we're gonna go through, and in your workbooks, I went ahead and listen, I stole it from Brian Buffini, all right? I'm here to tell you, I stole it. All of these characteristics and the action steps for these client rankings. So your A+ clients are your raving fans. They refer you consistently, and they have done business with you multiple times. Now, I'm gonna give you a little baby caveat there. If there's somebody that is in grandma's house and they're never, ever, ever, ever moving, and they've never, ever used anyone to sell real estate, you can still count them as an A+, right? I'm never moving from the house that I'm in. So if a real estate agent, wanted my business, they would probably likely not get it when it comes to my primary residence. But again, I think you got to be cautious with that because have done business with you multiple times. If their only piece of real estate is their family farm and they're never moving, don't count that against them. But typically these are people, maybe they didn't do primary residence because they haven't moved recently, but they've done investment property or they've asked you about stuff at the beach. These are people that are constantly promoting you. Their trust in you is unwavering, and they're going to speak highly of you in their circles. This is the person when you know they're at a dinner party and someone asks and says something about selling their home. Not only do they wait for the person to ask, who would you refer? They're literally like, let me tell you who you need to call. Let me tell you who you need to call. You got to call this girl. This should be that center bullseye. This is your A+ sphere of influence contact, right? And honestly, I look at these people as little ISAs that for some reason will work for wine and any other reward that I want to give them for doing that job. They truly are. For those of you that aren't big enough to scale into an ISA model, I have news for you. There are people in your world that will be your ISA for you. What's really amazing about this, and I think if you understand how people work, it really is amazing. We wake up every morning as our own hero. One of the weeks I'm going to do story brand marketing in this course so that you can look at it. Oh, Kat, I love that. To the beauty parlor. But like when you wake up every morning, you're the hero of your own story, right? And when you see other people that are doing great things running next to you, you're not like, oh, that impacts my story. But oftentimes we're like, well, good for them. That's great. Look at them being the hero of their story over there. what's really amazing about these people is like, they literally will tell your story to others. Like that is something that doesn't actually happen a lot, because we think as real estate agents, I think this too. I think people sit at home all day and think about real estate agents. I think that they think about who opened a building in town and what their rebrand looks like and how the marketing looks. And they're thinking about how my story was so good this morning. And then are like, I mean, honestly, I hate to buzzkill you all. No one gives a shit about real estate agents. I'm just being honest. They just don't. It's not something that consumes them. It consumes us because it's how we get paid. It's what we literally, like, our brains are just like meshed in with real estate 24/7, but the rest of the population does not work that way. Most of the time, they can't even remember the agent that they worked with. There's a NAR stat on this, like some ridiculous percentage of people cannot even remember the name of the agent that they worked with. It's why you see people list their homes and like they're really serious. They didn't think of you. They went into an open house and they met a nice girl, and the nice girl said she'd write them an offer, and they said, sounds great. Doesn't matter what you did. That's just where their brain goes, because they're not eating, sleeping, and breathing real estate agents in their market. But we think that they are, because we're thinking that way. It's so funny. But these A+ clients are the ones that are not waiting for someone to say like, oh, I need a real estate agent. Like, who would you call? And they're like, well, there's really no good ones, but I think Christine over there at Absher, she's pretty good. Like, you could probably call her. That's not your raving fan. I mean, if you get business from that person, we'll put it in an A or B category. These people are going out of their way to push your business. I think a raving fans category is great. I think you would come up with some other clever marketing for this. My suggestion to you with this group is to go today and identify them. If you haven't said anything to them in a hot minute, it's time to reconnect and create some kind of, in your own branding, some kind of group, right? Whatever that looks like. And this is where our team has actually fallen pretty flat since the team got developed. And it's one of the things that Haley and I are actually working on as we speak, is how to make sure that these people are treated the way that they should be. Action steps, regular personal touch points are key. You have to pick up the phone with these people. You have to continue to reassure them that you're having successful transactions, because you want to continue to keep that confidence high. This is one of those places, if you're going to do like intimate client appreciation, Allison, I was going to let you jump in here because I know Eli and Ryan did that was small scale that went really well. But doing things that are very intimate for this particular group of people, personalized gifts, which goes back to the importance of understanding the preferences of your clients in your CRM, because you can't possibly keep all of this in your brain, or I believe a spreadsheet. And then setting up regular call or check-in meetings. Again, the regular part here is important for two reasons. Number one, you want them to know that you're thinking of them. But number two, the regular calling and the regular touch points will continue to show them that you are trustworthy, reliable, dependable, and consistent. And that's what people want to refer. They don't want to refer the wild card. They want to refer the old steady mare that's going to get the job done. And by those regular touch points, you're actually giving them confidence that that's what you still do. Does that make sense? That's why the regular part of that's important. It's really not, these people, honestly, like, I'm not telling you that you can ignore them for a year and they're still going to do this, but I'm saying like, this is part of the regular checkup gives you two outputs. It's continuing to show your reliability while also thanking them to help encourage that behavior. Allison, can you chat about what you guys did? If you're, I don't know if you're here, if you're not, I'll move on, but like the smaller client appreciation you guys did a couple weeks ago and what that looked like. She's probably on a call. I'm not going to make her sit here and wait. I'll keep going. All right, let's talk about A clients. So we're moving a little bit wider into our bullseye, right? And you notice like, there's going to be probably way more C's than A pluses, right? You can see that like the amount of people is going to be this as well.
Go where?
Rob, I muted you. All right. A's, these are contacts that have done business with you and we're satisfied with your experience, and these are the people, right? Yeah, we used so-and-so, the people that are tagging you on Facebook. This is probably a good A group to start tapping into. Again, these are not people that are going out resharing your posts or doing the things that the A pluses are doing, but they've done business with you and they are sending you occasional referrals. It's not their MO. You're not completely shocked when they refer you, but it's not something that you rely on. It's not like when someone comes to you and you say, oh, who referred you to us? You're not like, oh yeah, of course it was that person. This is someone that you kind of would be like, oh, that's great. Cool. Awesome. I didn't know. Great. So the action steps here are really focusing on strengthening that relationship, making sure you're sending them really valuable market updates, newsletters. You need to drop by with small tokens of appreciation. And your goal really here is to get them to a place, right? This is what I love about the bullseye. It can always move. Is it literally is taking you from step up to step up to step up. Your goal here is to make these A's your A pluses, right? You always want to be moving them into a higher tier category. B clients. B clients are people that you've met and have a relationship with. You have likely not done business with them. So any past clients should be an A or an A plus for you, right? Unless they're like a past client that sued you. Probably not going to keep them in an A or A plus category. Maybe move them down to like a C or a D. No, I'm just kidding. You should take them out of your data set. Okay. Moving on. If you have a B, these are people that you have met, you have a relationship with, you haven't really done business with them yet, and they haven't experienced your services. But I think the important thing about B is they do know, like, and trust you already, right? To me, this B is a mom at dance. This is a B is, I know Mary was on this call, so I'm picking on you. A B is a mom at dance. A B is a friend from church. A B is someone that I think the clearest way to get a B is someone that has seen you complete something. So for instance, like I gave some money to my kids' school for their fun run. I very transparently told those PTA ladies, I was like, I love everything you're doing. This is not my season to be an in-person volunteer. I'm very, very busy with work, but I really appreciate it. Now, you think that after I wrote them a check, told them how much I appreciated them, showed them that I came through and was able to give that money, but that I really am busy at work, you think that I wouldn't have them in my database as a B, right? They know, they trusted me, right? Those are the little pockets of groups. I think the B is really important because the Bs need to have been in some kind of circumstance with you that you actually showed them that you're a valuable human being, right? I know that sounds kind of crappy, but like, I want to have been in a work process with them. I wanted to have sat on a board with them. I wanted to have helped problem solve something for them. I wanted them to be the one that called me and was like, we need a good contractor for something. I know you're in real estate. Who do you have? And I was able to give that name. A B to me is probably the most difficult one to tag, because an A is easy because you're going to say it's a past client or above, right? A C is going to be an acquaintance. I think Bs are the place where agents miss the most money, because I think a B is most likely to move into an A or an A plus very, very easily, but you've got to understand what a B is. Again, it's someone that I think on a, not a professional level, but in a personal setting or a professional setting, have been able to see you go through a work process, know that you're successful, already have that baseline of trust. And at this point, it's just a matter of getting them moved up a bit. Does anyone have any questions or anything to share that you think might be helpful about these Bs? Because I think the Bs are the trickiest letter.
Some reason I don't have the board on my screen. I don't know why.
Oh no. Can everybody else see it? I see
Yeah,
people.
I was texting Catherine. She said she can see it. I don't know why.
Well, let's see. It is on I wonder if it's just the size like your screen is. The good news is it's in that Canva link that we dropped. So if you open that too on your computer or whatever, you'll be able to see it. It's just a bullseye though, and it's got A plus middle, A's, B's, C's, and D's. And I'll send you a recording of this too, so you can go back and take a look at how we do.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I apologize.
Oh, stop it, Lori. Don't apologize. Again, my vision for this class is we'd all be in here together. So I appreciate you spoke to me because I like
It says, I just clicked on the whiteboard. It said you cannot open a whiteboard when a whiteboard meeting is already open in meeting.
So it's open. It just may be hidden from your view or something.
Okay.
So weird. Okay, so let's move on to C's. C's are acquaintances. My favorite thing about C's is I think that they have a really important, you have a really good opportunity to get these people into play. The important thing here is that they know that you sell real estate. right? That's what's going to decipher you between someone that's a C and a D, is like they've got to have an inherent knowledge that you sell real estate, right? So if you want to enter someone at a C level, you need to at least have an opening conversation where you say, hello, my name is Lori. I sell real estate for a living, because they have to have that inherent awareness that you're a real estate agent. So Haley is a really good example of this, I think it is. How far apart were we in school? What year did you graduate? 09. I was 11. I went to school with Haley's brother. I graduated a year after her husband. We went to church together, but we were never in that same like age group. I was never very good friends with Scott, not because Scott's not a lovely human. It's just like we weren't friends. I kind of knew, like, in all fairness, I feel like I knew of Haley. Like that was kind of the relationship. She had a photography business, which I saw online, and now I'm going to dispel all my secrets. Haley looked like she was doing very well. I love like young people that have businesses. That's like, I feel like I have a lot in common with that person. And so one day Haley entered my database because it was her birthday and I saw it on Facebook. And I went into the tax record and I found Haley's address and I sent her a birthday card. That was it. I'm sure Haley knew after the birthday card that I was in real estate, because I'm sure she was like, what the fudge? Why is Hannah sending me a birthday card? Which I'm sure you didn't. I'm sure actually you thought, oh my gosh, that's so nice. Yeah. And then Haley became part of our regular mailing list. So Haley came into my database as a C. Miracles happen. She's sitting right next to me working with us. So like that's a really good example of that C. It's someone that's in your world that you know knows what you do. They know who you are. But you really haven't had the opportunity to show them any value about what you can do professionally. And that's that big nuance between B's and C's. C's are such a huge opportunity. This is somewhere that literally you can help move them into that B ranking, because now you just want to get them in an environment where you can see how well you do things. So they're great people to make sure that you're targeting some marketing that may be like, here are the homes that we've sold this year. Here's the places that we've donated our money this year. Those are great targeted marketing for C's, because the goal there is to get them a little bit further into this communication bullseye and get them on the fringe. Buffini used to say if it was a D, you should delete them. Something has changed because obviously there's D's on his list now. But these are really people that you haven't had meaningful conversations with. Could be honestly really old past clients or contacts that like you had maybe something didn't go well. I told you to delete them out if they sued you. They categorize it that way. Here's what I think a D is. I think a D is someone that is likely not going to use you. Probably not something that's there, but you want the opportunity if you've got slow times like we do right now. I'm very thankful for the D's in my data set right now, because the D's may be more interested in developing a relationship with an agent that has a proven track record and has history of being able to do something really great. And the good news is, and I'm going to show you how, I've still dripped on them over the years. And so I actually think that there's probably not been a better time in the last couple of years to convert D's a little bit higher, because they're going to be looking again, like we talked about last week, that proven lighthouse in the storm, right? So I'm very thankful that I have D's that I've interacted with. But again, you have to prioritize those D's based on your time. You don't want to go spend money and energy and time on a bunch of D's if you haven't gotten to the place where those A pluses or those A's or those B's are really cared for first. And this is the power of segmenting this, is it'll keep you from spending time places that you don't. I really don't think, unless you've been sued, don't take them out of your database. And I think I used to do this. I get mad. I want to give you the best. I get mad. This girl had her house for sale by owner. And I messaged her, I was a new agent at the time. It was a while ago. And I was like, hey, I just wanted to provide you with some helpful forms so that you can for sale by owner successfully. I'll drop them by your house. She's like, thank you. But like 8 agents have brought us forms. We appreciate that. Oh, okay. Cool. So, anyway, so like time went on with her house sitting for sale by owner. I tried really hard to go drum up someone to see it. Like I didn't have clients at the time. I really didn't have a lot of value to offer, if I'm being very transparent. And she listed it with another agent. And I was so pissed. Like, I offered her forms. I mean, we grew up together. Like, she was at my house for sleepovers. Like, I took her on the boat. Like, her mom was like my like best buddy. Like, I was mad and I deleted her out of my database. So I was like, I'll show you, you punk. You can't be in my database. Well, they sold that house. They bought another house. And probably 6 months, not even 6 months into being in their new house, which I obviously knew from Facebook because I still followed her and was butthurt about it. She calls me, or she maybe Facebook messaged me, and she's like, hey, I need a contractor. We have done a kitchen remodel. The person we're using is a disaster. It's so bad. I really need your help. So we refer our contractor to her. And she comments and was like, I just wanted to tell you, I'm really sorry that we didn't use you. We felt really conflicted. We both had friends that were real estate agents. We just decided to go with someone out of the blue. Honestly, it was not a great experience. We definitely wouldn't use her again. And you know who they called whenever they were ready to start looking at upsizing their house? They called me. But you know what? I would have screwed myself over. And thankfully it was Facebook that she connected on. But like, what if she hadn't? What if she hadn't have given me the second chance, which is such a mindset shift for a lot of us because our egos get in the way in this business? What if she hadn't have given me that opportunity to recognize that I was still someone that she saw valuable in the real estate world? And now we have in our pipeline for a buy and sell side, because I just let my ego get in the way and I hit delete. That was the last person I deleted from my database, very transparently. If you need to move them down to a D because your ego's bruised, move them to a D. That's fine. But make sure that they're still getting this basic coverage. And that's what we're going to go into right now is these 4 pillars of communication. So any questions on categorizing leads before I move forward? This next section will be kind of fast. Okay, cool. I'm going to try to use this whiteboard. I'm really excited. So we have 4 pillars of communication that we use, and this is all Buffini certified system stuff. This is not my brain. 4 types of communication. A mailer. This is not a note card. This is a mailer. I'm gonna screen share once we get through with this process. I'm going to show you what examples of these look like. But the purpose here, right, is to provide valuable information. Please note the word valuable, right? This is not spammy spam time. Real estate insights, market updates. I'm going to tell you to include one little thing. You can do per year 2 fluffies. That's what I like to call them. 2 fluffies. 2 of these mailers can be fluffy of the 12. The rest of them better be really impactful, hard-hitting real estate information. Because as soon as that consumer thinks, when they see this mailer coming, I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it. They see this mailer come to their inbox or their mailbox, they literally are going to say, oh, that last one was just a fluffy nothing. I'm not even going to take my time to open this. This open rate of your mailer can be so powerful if the content stays in consistently. The second part of this is consistency, frequency, monthly, must go out monthly. This is one of the places where if I'm being vulnerable and I'm being transparent on this call, which I think is important, I have suffered since our team grew and we have a lot of agents. This is the first thing that fell off. And what's frustrating to me is this is the first thing that changed my business. When I started implementing this, this is when I went from doing 10, 12, 15 deals to 25, 30, 40 deals. This was the key to that growth. So I'm frustrated in myself that these have not been consistent for us over the last year. Content ideas, again, local market trends, ownership tips, real estate news, even community events, if you can segment it out and make sure that that's appropriate. Guys, I'm not getting into big AI stuff today because Phil Stringer's not here to back me up, but I will tell you, if you struggle with content creation, if you struggle with coming up with ideas, go ChatGPT it. Go get some suggestions to get your brain working. Even if you don't go with one of those suggestions, sometimes just seeing how quickly that thing can calculate ideas will inspire you to get this content created. And then again, this talks about incorporating a personal touch or note. I think that's really great if you can add the personalization here. But I think that's really only important on that first time. If you know it's their first time being in this mailer rotation that happens monthly, it's important to have a framework that you can throw in front of it saying, hey, I just thought you'd find this information valuable. We send it once a month. That's the only time that the personalization comes in absolutely clutch, is one that first touch needs to have some kind of introduction to, why am I getting this out of the blue, right? Take the question out. So here's what's really cool about the mailer. It depends on your size. If you have 40 people, A+ through D, then you should cover this entire bullseye with this mailer. This should be one of those pieces that covers everything. Our data set's gotten kind of big. And so I'm actually not doing and postage has gotten kind of expensive. It cost me about, what did we say the other day, Haley? Like $1.10 to mail 1,000 of these. So monthly, it's about $1,000 expense for the team if all 1,000 go out. For those of you that are ordering prints at a lower quantity than 1,000, yours is going to be more expensive per mail, obviously. I used to say it was $1.65 when I was doing just my stuff. So I think $1.65 a mailer is probably a good number for you guys to have it printed. And then, just recruit your kids or husband, whoever, to do some of the mailing. One of the most important things about these monthly mailers is you cannot go and direct mail these. You have to, I'm so sorry. You have to put them in the envelope. You can do a mailing label, which your CRM will help you produce, or your spreadsheet, hopefully your CRM. And you can stamp your return address, but I'm telling you, you can't even go run these through a Pitney Bowes machine. Like, you got to put a stamp on it, because they need to think that this was not sent out in mass quality, that this was really just a one-off for them. It was a mailing for them. So it's very, very important that you don't let this front start looking like generic mail, right? And you do that with particularly a stamp. Like, if you have to shortcut and have envelopes printed with your return address, okay. Obviously you're already using mailing labels, so that's there. But if you can, like, at all costs, you must put a stamp on each one of them, because they need to think this was individually stamped. So in my world, I can't get to every single person in my data set with these anymore. It's too big. So I'm not doing my Ds. Ooh, I need a color. Let's go red. So our mailers are red. I'm going to cover up this much of my data set with that. Does that make sense? So this much of my data set is getting covered up with mailers. I hate that. Can I erase it and redo it? I'm just kidding. That's who's getting my mailers. For you, it might be all the way down to D. If you have a data set of 3,000, it might just be your B's enough. You've got to set this parameter for your organization always. Let's talk about handwritten note cards. How many of you are doing this already in your business? I can't see everyone. So I started with handwritten note cards because someone told me I should follow Buffini. So the first thing I did was I read Buffini, and like my typical personality, I saw the first line said, you should send handwritten note cards. So I was like, great, I'll do that. I didn't read anything else. So I started with handwritten note cards, and they're very powerful. They're amazing. Depending on your data set, you're going to have to decide what you can do. But the handwritten note card, the purpose, right, is to strengthen the relationship with a personal touch. How many of you have gotten a handwritten card in the last month to your mailbox? I've gotten one. Like, how many of you have gotten 0 note cards handwritten into your mailbox in the last month? Yeah, I mean, this is your mom. I love that, Amy. Amy's mom sent her something, so that counts. Like, we don't get handwritten cards anymore. Like, this is a lost art. No one's doing them. In fact, I had a script when I was trying to get people's mailing addresses. I would send them a message on Facebook, and I'd be like, hey, I made a New Year's resolution this year to get more handwritten cards out. Would you mind sharing your address so I can get you a birthday card this month? I would literally like use that as an excuse for why I was asking for people, and people loved it. They're like, oh, that's such a cool resolution, because it's so weird, because who's doing that, right? So you have to choose, right? I'm going to choose my new color for my handwritten cards. For me, like, I'm here for my handwritten cards, right? So my purple is starting to cover these people. Obviously the A+ are really important, right? So this is where I spend all my time on my handwritten cards. Man, I look like a child. These are as needed. It's really important to aim for significant occasions like birthdays, anniversaries, first meetings. I went on a listing appointment with someone lovely yesterday who I didn't know well, except for the internet world. Obviously, a handwritten card's going out in the mail today for her because she gave me an hour and a half of her time last night at her home and the opportunity to list her house. So like, I think it's important to do them when prompted, but I think where they become really powerful is when they're outside of any context and you literally are just sending a card to say, you were on my mind. I just wanted to reach out, say hello. Hope you're having a great week. Again, thank yous, congratulations, thanking of you messages, holiday greetings. If you're not thinking about doing Christmas cards, you can do the whole lot of them in the next, 2 weeks, or holiday cards. And again, these have to be handwritten. Now, I can sit here and I can tell you that I think Audience is a great company. They do handwritten cards. And it's something that our team transparently is probably looking at, because if we really want to do this at a very, very, very high level, then we may need to add that in. Would I ever still send the lady that I met with yesterday a card from Audience? No, I would not. It's still always handwrite that. But as far as being able to expand into some, I'll tell you where we would use it is our B's and C's, right? I don't have time to write handwritten cards outside of that purple. But what I could do is I could invest money into B's and C's, and that would be an excellent place for a company like audience.com to actually support us and give us a little bit of extra help, right? Because if I have to choose where I want to spend my time doing these high energy activities, I want to keep it in the purple. You do not need personalized cards. Someone asked me this question. They're like, do I need to order personalized cards? One of the biggest takeaways on these cards is you don't put your business card in it. You don't sign it. Love, Anna, your realtor. You mentioned nothing about the real estate market. You mentioned nothing about real estate at all. It is strictly just for the purpose of sending the cards. Katie, you will not be on the screen. Maybe right then. E-newsletters. So let me tell you where these go. How much time do you think it takes to get e-newsletters out to a data set of 1,000 people?
You want to use my office?
The great news is it takes about the same amount of time as it takes to get one out. That makes sense. If I can create an e-newsletter for one person, I can create it for 1,000 people. This is very, very duplicatable. So I'm going to take my green, and you better bet everybody is that I have an email address for is going to get this e-newsletter, right? E-newsletters should go back and kind of reiterate, right? Like some of the things that you've done in your newsletter. So you could just create like a JPEG of that e-newsletter or that mailer that went out. I'll show you some of these things in a few minutes so you can conceptualize it. I just don't want to bounce back and forth. But again, this could go out monthly. You could go out 2 times a month if you wanted to. It's digital updates and insights. If you've got some listings you want to share, if you've got some homes that sold, share. This is really one of those places where, again, I don't think the content is incredibly high value. It's more of the consistency of delivery. One thing I will tell you, if you want to reach, it's important that you keep your HTML down. So if you really want to get this started, the thing to not do is to create, and I'll show you what ours used to look like. It's important to get started not to create these huge, giant photo dumps, because until people are used to giving you a good open rate, a lot of those are going to get blocked by the servers, although they look really lovely and pretty. So I'll show you one of the things we did just this last month that looks very different these days. It's a whole nother training. And again, my Calendly is always there to chat you through some of this stuff. E-newsletters, again, personalization is important. This is one of those places where you could say, hey, once a month, I'm sending everybody something. And then one other time a month, I'm going to create one thing for this segment, one thing for this segment, one thing for this segment. Again, you create it for one, you create it for 500 or whatever it may be. Here's one of the reasons why agents don't want to do this. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of creativity. But how many of you are also posting on social media? How many of you are attending open houses and constantly looking for items of value that you could give to agents that are coming through your open house? I think it's really important to make sure that when you create this content for these e-newsletters and for your mailers, you got to make sure that it goes somewhere else in your business. You need to have it serve a couple different places. And then finally, the pop by. And I'll tell you where the pop by goes. The pop by is primarily going to go. Ooh, what color should I use? I'll go here. This is where I'm gonna spend all my real time with my pop buys, especially the expensive ones, right? Ooh, so many pop buys. I can usually get into here some too, right? I can usually start crossing here a little bit. But I ain't popping by on a C. They might think it's weird. I'm not popping by on a B. I'm definitely not popping by on a D. My time is worth more than that, right? So again, the importance of knowing your segment is, where do I spend my time and my money and my marketing dollars? What you see here that happens is, if you use this system, you will touch the whole data set. But look how many times you touch your core referral group. That's why they will continue to sit there as A pluses and refer you, is because throughout the course of the month, they have heard. How many of you feel like you would be exhausted trying to reach out to someone 4 times a month via a phone call to remind them that you're a real estate agent? That is dumb. That is crazy. They would probably stop referring you because they would say, Kat has lost her mind and she keeps contacting me for no reason. This is what's amazing. If you use the e-newsletter and the mailers, that's giving you a consistent layering for pretty much everybody. When you start adding those personal notes in, you start really showing people that more personal side that's not as business related, and the pop buy can be even stronger in that regard. And look at how seamlessly you've actually just continued to brush over those A pluses, those A's. You've continued to show them, and you've done it in a systematic way that doesn't surprise them, that doesn't come out of the blue, that doesn't make you look like a fool, that doesn't make you feel like you're chasing down their business. All you've done is just layer communicate different types of the 4 pillars of communication to make sure at the end of the month, there's no way that A plus isn't sitting at a dinner party somewhere saying, I think you should work with Kat Harrelson. She's amazing. Why would the person that's A plus, we can't even see the letter anymore, why are they not going to be referring you at this point, right? So the pop buy is a face-to-face visit, and we all got away with this in COVID. I started doing these during COVID because I got certified in Buffini in like 2000. Well, I guess it's 2020. So yeah, that's COVID year, right? Yeah. I started Buffini fall of 19. So I started really working it in 2020. It was a really cool time to be doing this because I didn't have to meet anyone face to face because it was COVID. So it was unsafe for them to come to the door. So I got to do this thing where I just like dropped off pop buys and like ran, and I would like send a picture and be like, I dropped this off at your house, but I didn't talk to you because it's COVID. Can't do that anymore. In fact, I think people are craving community a lot. So I would encourage you to do your pop buy in person. There is a different way to do this, and I think it's really cool. Especially if you're an individual agent, you're kind of overextended, or you've got clients that are spread out pretty far. I mean, I know down there, Beaufort County can be kind of large. Wake County, we service a huge, huge area up here as far as our MLS goes. So let me give you some examples of where I've worked around this. I have new parents, right? Someone just had a baby, door dashing diapers and 2 Red Bulls. Awesome pop by. Someone's just gotten married or engaged. I can send over, you can't send champagne via DoorDash or Instacart because they're going to card the person when they're there unless you can confirm that they're going to be there. Crumble cookies are great. Like, there are ways to do pop buys without you physically having to do them. Just know that that is really more like that's not going to give you the full process. So you're going to have to pick up the phone once it's done and say, hey, just wanted to let you know, I didn't want to disturb you new parents, ring your doorbell. But I did want to send over some essentials for you, things like that. You should be hitting everyone quarterly. Those A pluses, I think you should be doing them like monthly. I think you should be sending them something, doing something for them monthly. You can supplement it not with just the traditional pop buy. Maybe it's also sending them a gift card to their favorite restaurant or something one of those months. But I do think those A pluses should be receiving something from you monthly. The bigger set of your pop buy should be quarterly. There's an argument for taking B's and up or C's and up, depending on your data set. We would do this and just say 4 times a quarter, we're going to do a really big pop buy experience. Those are not ones in which you're waiting around for them to come to the door. You won't have time. But like July 4th, we would always do sparklers. At Christmas, for our clients that have bought that year, we do ornaments. So you can come up with seasonal things that you know will always be there. In the spring, we did beer, we did Hoppy Easter, and we got local beers and dropped them off at people's houses. So again, there's ways to do this at a mass quantity, but you can't do that. One of the best things you can do is just have a couple of things in your car at any given moment that can be passed out. Hot sauce is one of my favorites, and we'll probably just do like a quick segment on pop buys at some point because people love to ideate on this. Again, it's just a small token of appreciation. That's the idea behind the content. I think being seasonal is important, but again, making sure that this visit or this gift aligns with clients. If I have clients that I know I probably don't need to drop beer off at their house, I'm not dropping beer off at their house. If I have clients that have, you know, a bunch of young kids, and I know that sparklers are going to be a pain for them to regulate, I might choose something different, right? So like just making sure you're not completely missing the mark by what you're dropping off. The key here though, is truly layering these communication methods so that you can actually see what this looks like. I'm going to quickly share my screen and show you what some of these look like. And then we're going to wrap up pretty quickly after that. I think Allison had to leave. Hoping she'd have a lot of client event stuff. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Great. So here's one of my, remember I told you you could have 2 fluffies? Here's my favorite fluffy. We do a postcard. This is actually goes into an envelope. You can do this in a postcard form. I think we did a postcard form last year. We sent out our favorite pumpkin pie recipe. This one was actually for an insert. Let me go. Why can't I go back? Oh, because it's Canva. You can see we just did our little branding here on the back of this. This is a great pumpkin pie recipe. People call us all the time. We get pictures at Thanksgiving. People will text me pictures of their pumpkin pie that they made, and say, oh, we used your recipe again this year. And so this is a great little marketing piece. This is one of our fluffies each year. One of the other things that we've sent out, this was a big one that we did, I think really like main COVID time. I tried to pull some of our more impactful ones. Obviously, this looks very different. This is not very fluffy, right? Selling your home's a huge undertaking. We're sure you have questions that apply to your specific situations. Here's the questions. How about just figuring out what your home is worth? And it was a QR code to set an appointment with us for an equity evaluation, right? That one was a little bit more of a sales ask, right? Which looks really different than this one that we sent out. That was 100% just us. This was back this time last year, looking at what was going on with new construction, right? Handling some of the objections with new construction. This was, I mean, again, I don't care if Haley read this or not. Haley didn't need to read it. She probably didn't care. But what it said was, holy bananas, these people are kind of meaty. They know what's going on. They're sending me words like inflation, supply chain, right? They're sending me graphs. It gives you that little bit of muscle that goes really well with fluffy things like our pumpkin pie card. This we do every single year. Very beginning of the year, January, this goes out. It's your 2022 checkup. I'm going to be honest with you. We use almost the same look every single year because we really want it to be consistent. This is our first mailer, goes out in January. It basically says, hey, do you want to know what your investment is worth, right? It has nothing to do with wanting to sell. Again, it has everything to do with these are the things that you're probably looking at, especially going into tax season, your retirement savings, your insurance policies, student loans, college savings, charitable giving. While you're going through and you're doing all this financial driven factors, why don't you let us just tell you what your home's worth, right? Very easy. We ask people all the time in our database, would you like a CMA, right? If they call us and they want to know what a CMA looks like, that's our first thing that we like to do. We like to be like, oh, can I send you a CMA on your home? Do you think half those people know what a CMA is? Nope. So what we did is we made sure that sometime during the year, our people understood what was a CMA. How did they become like what goes into deciding what home values are? Why do you need one? And so we created this document, and this was one of our monthly mailers that went out. Again, very heavy market detail. This is one of my favorites. We literally do, like most people, a end of the year wrap up. Ours will look hugely different this year with so many team members. But again, you can see this one was from 2021. So we shared that our twins were born. We showed a picture of trip surfing. We talked about where they had been at school. We talked about changing brokerages. We talked about our creation of Gold Leaf Collective. We talked about our new team members, who they were. And this was a great mailer. We added to this the Triangle's best Christmas lights. They actually went together, and we had a list of all the Christmas lights in our area. This was our second fluffy, guys. We tend to be fluffy during the holidays, which is why I think there's a huge opportunity right now. And we put together all the Christmas lights, where tickets were required, what was free, and said, hey, go hop by. People put these on their fridge. They sent us pictures of them. Again, none of this is really crazy, right? None of this is that amazing. This is a great one. We literally said, hey, if you're ever out venturing for an open house, right? If you're ever out venturing for an open house, we're never too busy to help you navigate that. Who knows? You might have people in your sphere that are just out open housing on the weekend. And wouldn't it be nice for them to know that they could call you before they went and did that for an activity? Property taxes, when that bill comes out, this is huge. When we have a 4-year adjustment, this is huge. I know in Beaufort County, you guys absolutely have, this is so funny seeing some old marketing. You guys absolutely have, the opportunity to get lower taxes based on if you're a full-time resident or not. Being able to send something out in a written form that looks like that is huge. I'm going to show you very quickly what some of our monthly mailers have looked like. I want you to be able to see that. Oops, clicked the wrong button because I was going blind. And then we'll wrap up quickly. I'm going to give you some ideas on how you could get a pie event together in a quick amount of time if you want to try to do that. We have the full SOP. So if I go into here, I'm going to look at some of our batch emails that have gone out. Sorry, Mary. All right. This was one that was more of what we look like now. And this is all based on some John Sheplack training. There's no HTML in this. There's not big pictures. There's not a lot of stuff. This was literally just a quick mailer talking about, hey, is the current market worse than 2009? What does the market look like? Why our team feels the way that it feels. This is a well done, I think, example of what we're doing new. If we want to go look at some of our other examples, this was one. This was an easy other one. What does the Silicon Valley bank crash mean for real estate? Again, you're going to see that's a 4th grade reading level, which is what your stuff should be to go out. And so this was a great quick batch email to everyone as well. Let me show you some of these fluffier ones, because I know that's probably going to be a little bit more attractive to everyone, as they should. They're fun. So sorry. Keeps singling out Mary to show all of our emails. October news flow. So this is what these looked like. Again, a lot of HTML. I think a lot of them went to spam. They're not opening as well, but this is another example. If you want to create these, you can create all of these in Canva. You just drop them into wherever you're mailing from. And this is what this could look like. Again, I think the problem was a lot of these didn't get delivered. So you can't rely on them to be the main source of your business, but if they're part of a layering mechanism, you should be fine. Any questions on any of that stuff? Can't see because I made my screen small. I bet I'll never get it back. How do I make it big again?
It's frozen on this end now.
Stop share. Okay,
Okay.
I'm back. Any questions on anything? Okay.
I'm gonna drop it in. Something really quick, if that's okay.
Okay. Oh, Kat, yeah. Can you talk about your recent client event? Because you guys did a great job. I think that was something people could take away from.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know me, I'm in Beaufort. I'm part of the Greco team, and we just had a big client appreciation event. It was at like a local place called Shell Ring. And yes, it is sort of a beer garden of sorts, but it was a family event. It was on the water, and we had a band, and it was an unusually hot day, but it was fabulous. So we invited, our past clients, people we're working with currently, and it was really cool to see everybody intermingling. We also, we gave pies away, and we had basket giveaways, but in order to be entered in the basket giveaway, you had to scan a QR code. So we were able to get everybody's information. And it was great. It was like 3 hours and it was pretty easy.
Yeah, that's also, I think people think that these client events have to be so crazy. They don't, like, it can be very small. We have done a couple of different things this year for back to school. We had the snow cone truck come to my house with a circle drive, and we just did drive through snow cones. I think it cost what, 300 some bucks. It was a huge hit. The kids got to make their own snow cones, which I was very surprised about. The big thing that we love to do a pie giveaway. If you don't know this, pumpkin pies at Costco are like $4. They're stupid cheap. Even if you pick 20 people and said, I want to take 20 pies to you this holiday season, that's a huge one. And I think that the complexity of it all will turn people away. One of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten is the invitation itself is actually the work. So you inviting someone to something is what actually moves the needle. The execution of it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. I mean, I'm not saying you can just not show up that day and have pies, or you can, have a terrible experience at something you're doing. But for most people, the invitation is enough. Photos with Santa at Christmas, that might seem daunting to put together. It's not. Pie giveaway, not difficult. Snow cones, not difficult. Really and truly, just like, I think the big thing with creating a client event is just getting the invitation out. If you're interested in doing a pie giveaway, instead of spending 10 minutes walking you through the mechanics of it, just shoot us a message in chat, or send Haley an email, and we'll make sure that our SOP gets over to you. We can share our Google Drive sign up. We can share our invitation through Canva. You can make a copy and you can just steal it. We don't care, right? So execute a client event. If you're on the fence, I guess the real purpose of talking about client events is for me to sit here and just say, as Nike would, just do it. The invitation's enough. It's daunting feeling like you're inviting people to things, because then as human beings, we're like, but what if no one comes or no one takes the pie? We had more than enough people come get pies. Worst case scenario, you let the last 3 people take 10 and go donate it to the food shelter, food pantry. You will be fine. So here's your call. If you were thinking about a client event, do one. The invitation is enough. Give them an opportunity to come fellowship with you. And again, I don't think there's any season in which it's more well received than right now, because you have plenty of excuses to get people together and give them things, because the holidays are upon us. So I would encourage you to go do the things, do the client events. And if you have specific questions about how do you launch one, we're happy to share a playbook on that as well. Oh my gosh, I took up almost a whole.
Can I ask? Hi, is there any way to do something with the Halloween candy and not be salesy? Like, I keep seeing people posting that they're like putting their like little flyers with their kids' Halloween candy that they're handing out for trick-or-treating. And if you've done that, I apologize. I find that to be a little bit much. Like, I wouldn't just hand my real estate info out to all the kids that come to my door, because I just think it's not for me to do that. But I would love the neighbors that are coming with their kids who I don't know to realize that I'm a real estate agent. So I don't know.
What I would do. You know how like Military Missions in Action and all these people will take leftover candy the next day?
Right.
I would draw it up right now. I would do something that says, hey, bring your leftover candy back here tomorrow. I will run it to MMIA or to wherever will take the leftover candy for a good cause.
Okay.
With your name and your information, and that's it.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Oh, that's smart. Okay. See, this is why I get on this call with you. Thank you.
Do something. Yeah, they will not take chocolate, but here's the thing. They won't take chocolate, but you then just sort through the chocolate. Bring the chocolate to the office. We'll eat it. Okay. Like, don't add that extra step that makes them filter and say, oh, well, I have chocolate. Yeah. Amy's right. We just ate the chocolate. Just literally say, hey, like, bring your candy here tomorrow, whatever's left over. I'll take care of the donation for our neighborhood. Thanks so much. Like Mary, your local neighborhood realtor.
Okay.
Yeah. Also,
Sure.
we were talking about this. My husband just went to put a sign up for a girl in a neighborhood that they can't have signs because they were going to put it up for trick-or-treaters. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that kids had mortgages that they could go and purchase homes. And the last thing I'm going to be focused on tonight, chasing my 3 children around trick-or-treating, is what realtors gave me their card. Like, nah, I'm out. Like, we're
Right.
just gold
get
at getting them all back home.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, can you guys hear me if I talk? Okay, I was just gonna let you know before I press send, but I made a resource during this. I'm excited about it. I hope you're all excited about it. But literally it has all, you like click on it and download it right now to your computer. But it's gonna have, each week I'll add homework to this homework QR code. I made an assessment QR code, an Anna's Calendly QR code, and a workbook QR code.
Yeah.
And I'll email it out. If you don't save it in time, I'll email it out to all of you today.
Well, I'm so glad I creepily added you to my
Me
database all
too.
those years ago. All right. I hope this was valuable. I hope you'll be back next week. Next week we'll pick up a little bit more of these communication styles. We'll also talk about a couple of other things that are pertinent to this. I thought today is it's the meatiest part of it. So I'm going to send the recording, rewatch it, implement it. This is the thing that took me from, if you want something that'll take you from 10, 12 deals a year to 25, 30 deals a year, it's the communication bullseye I just shared with you. It is a surefire way to get that done. Okay. I'm signing off, crowd. Have a great rest of your week. Happy Halloween. Hope your kids all don't go missing. I'm sure some of mine will. And we'll see you same time next week. We'll send out links. Goodbye.